Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Doring. I'm going to be talking about baking today. The hobby is really special to me, so I hope that you learned something. So what is baking? By definition, it is cooking by dry heat, so usually using an oven, and it is the oldest cooking method to date. Some fun history facts are that mold was seen as a delicacy back then. Mostly now it is seen as something that you don't want to eat and should probably throw away, but back then it kind of had some funky taste to it, I guess. Also, the Egyptians created the oven. They created it out of Nile River clay. And then finally, a really big advancement in the 20th century for the baking industry was being able to enrich baked goods and breads with vitamins so that people are still getting their nutrients. So the different difficulty levels, so easier beginner is about usually box mixes, it's about 5 ingredients or less. Intermediate level is 5 to 7 ingredients, can take up to about 2 hours, but nothing more than that. And then harder difficult has multiple ingredients and can take multiple days to prepare and create the dish. But different methods, the biscuit method is biscuits and pie dough. The muffin method is basic cakes, muffins, and quick breads of that sort. And then the creaming method is cakes and cookies. So the difference between all of them is that the creaming method, you cream the fats together. With the muffin method and the biscuit method, they're quite similar because you separate the wet and dry ingredients while mixing. So some supplies needed to bake. These are the most basic ingredients that are probably gonna be in any recipe. So you're going to need flour, salt and sugar, butter, eggs, and any leavening agents. Leavening agents are any substances that causes dough and any type of batter to rise, I guess. And then, so that's mostly yeast and then baking powder and baking soda. And the different tools you're going to need, there are a lot of baking tools out there, but you don't need all of them. So the most basic ones are measuring cups and spoons, whisks and spatulas, mixing bowls, a rolling pin, baking pans and baking sheets, and then parchment paper. That way your desserts don't stick to your baking pans and sheets, causing burning, and it can make the sheet look gross after a while. But some famous companies within the baking industry. So Duncan Hines has a net worth of $10 billion and was created 50 plus years ago. Betty Crocker has a net worth of $15.6 billion and was started in 1921. Martha Stewart has a net worth of $400 million and was started in 1997 in New York. And Hostess has a net worth of $10 billion and was started in 2013. So in the television industry and baking, there are 4 different shows that I'm going to talk about, but there are way more out there. So first, The Great British Bake Off is on Netflix, and it's basically a British baking competition. Most of the people on there really don't know what they're doing, and it's kind of like a funny thing to watch them create like complex dishes. And then Nailed It has the same theme to it. It's also on Netflix. It's in the picture that I'm showing. People are given like really intense recipes and things that they have to recreate, but they're really not good at baking, so it's kind of funny to watch. And then Cake Boss is on TLC, and it follows Buddy, who is a baker in New Jersey who makes these really large cakes. And finally, Cupcake Wars used to be on TLC, but I don't think it is anymore. But it had 3 rounds where bakers would compete, and they would make very large displays for cupcakes and for different events. So the importance of baking as a hobby, you can share common likes with others. Baking is a really big hobby, so it's really nice to have other people that you can talk to about it and relate to and have fun. The science behind it is quite interesting to me personally. I really like to think about the different chemical reactions that are like actually happening as I'm making something. Like if you were to make a bread, the yeast is chemically reacting and that's why it's rising, and it's kind of cool to think about. But also the act of feeding feels great. I love when I'm hanging out with my friends and I can just whip something up really quickly and everybody can enjoy it. It feels really nice to feed somebody else and have them enjoy it as well. But finally and most importantly, it is very advantageous for improving mental health. It's a very meditative activity. It's really nice to stress relieve off of. But as a career, it is also a very nice career to have because it has flexible schedules. Most bakers nowadays are entrepreneurs, so they have their own companies that they're running. So it's also not challenging to improve either. With baking, practice makes perfect is really the biggest thing that you can do. I've made a lot of mistakes in baking and I've improved a lot because of it. Also, the ability to own a personal business is a really nice feeling to have. You're not working for someone else. You get to make your own hours. You make your own money. It feels nice. But finally, and also most importantly, there are no barriers to entry, so you don't need some big degree or a PhD to become a baker. It's always appreciated, but it's never needed. So some simple recipes I've baked. I've made funfetti box cake cookies, which are the picture that is in the slide. I've also made Fruity Pebble cupcakes, which is white cake with white frosting and Fruity Pebbles on top. That is a family and friend favorite from me. I've also made peanut butter and Nutella brownies and apple turnovers, which is a really simple recipe that you can try. It's also great for the fall. Some recipes to try at home. So this is recipe for the box cake funfetti cookies. It's really simple and really quick and really fast. So the ingredients, you're going to need 1 box of funfetti cake mix, 2 tablespoons of sprinkles, which are optional but nice to have, 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, and then 2 large eggs. So the instructions are just to combine the cake mix as usual, add the sprinkles if you'd like, and then mix until it's all blended. Shape the dough into 1-inch balls. You can make about a dozen cookies with this recipe, and then you bake at 375 for 6 to 8 minutes. It might take a little bit longer. I've tried it out with different box cake flavors, and it's taken longer with different ones, but it's usually 6 to 8 minutes for this one, and then you're all finished. You let it cool, and it tastes amazing. So what did we learn today? The history and different types of baking, like different basic methods, and the history and some fun facts. Ingredients and tools needed, famous brands in baking and how much they're worth, popular TV shows in baking and where to watch, why baking is important, and finally an easy, really delicious recipe to try. Here is my works cited. Thank you so much for watching.